My dear child, I am so grateful that you opened this message because I needed you. Yes, I needed you. It might sound impossible to believe, but it is the absolute truth. You, with your sensitive heart and the struggles that only a few can truly understand, were able to hear my voice cutting through all the noise of this chaotic world. So many people passed by without stopping. So many chose to ignore what they heard. But you didn't. You paused. You listened. You responded. That is why I am telling you now, with a love that knows no boundaries and asks for nothing in return, you are the one I have chosen. It was not random chance that brought you to this moment. It was not some cosmic accident that you are here right now, reading these very words. It was my hand guiding you. It was my spirit calling out to you. It was my love drawing you close because I want to speak directly into your life. I need to speak with you, not because I lack anything, but because in my perfect and eternal plan, I have placed something extraordinary inside of you. There is a truth I want you to discover, something that will completely transform the way you see yourself, the way you understand your journey, and the way you move forward from this day. So please, I am asking you to pay close attention. Do not let distractions pull you away from this moment. Do not treat this lightly or dismiss it as just another message that will fade from your memory. This is not ordinary. This is my heart reaching out to touch yours directly. If you are still with me, if these words are resonating in your heart, I would love for you to leave a comment below. Just a simple amen or number to let me know you are here and you are listening. Your engagement means more than you know. It will serve as a declaration to heaven, and your agreement will align with my plans for the next chapter of your life. I needed you because I have witnessed everything you have been through in the hidden places of your life. I have been present in every moment when no one else was there to see. I watched you lying in bed at night with a heart so heavy you could barely breathe, holding thoughts and feelings you could not share with a single soul. I saw you putting on a brave face for the people around you, smiling when you needed to smile, speaking when you needed to speak, all while inside you felt like you were breaking into 1,000 pieces. I saw how you stood tall on the outside, projecting strength and confidence, while your heart trembled with uncertainty and fear on the inside. Do not think for one moment that your tears went unnoticed. Every single tear that fell from your eyes was counted. Every quiet sob in the darkness was heard. Every sleepless night when you stared at the ceiling wondering if tomorrow would be any different. I was there marking each moment in my eternal memory. For days that turned into weeks, and weeks that turned into months, and months that turned into years, I have been watching your silent battles. I saw how you fought when no one knew there was even a war going on. How you carried guilt and shame that did not belong to you but somehow found its way onto your shoulders. How you endured words that cut deeper than any physical wound could ever reach. How you faced rejection after rejection, each one leaving a mark on your soul that you tried desperately to hide. Yet through all of this you did not walk away. You did not turn to the empty promises of this world for comfort. Even in your moments of deepest confusion, even when doubt seemed to cloud everything, you kept searching. Even if all you were looking for was just one small sign, one whispered word of hope, one tiny glimpse that someone somewhere understood what you were going through. I saw you walking through valleys so dark you could barely see your own hand in front of your face, through seasons when everything seemed to lose its color and meaning. You moved forward with a heart full of questions that had no easy answers. Why is this happening to me? How much longer can I possibly endure this? Is there anyone in this vast universe who truly sees me for who I am, who really understands the depth of what I am feeling? And though those questions filled your mind day after day, you kept putting one foot in front of the other. You may not realize this, but that quiet perseverance, that stubborn refusal to completely give up even when giving up seemed like the most logical choice, was an act of worship to me. It was faith in its purest form. The kind of faith that does not need proof or evidence to keep believing. The kind of faith that remains alive even when it feels weak and fragile. I also saw those moments when you stopped completely, so exhausted that you had nothing left to give, questioning whether anything you were doing had any real meaning or purpose. You asked yourself if there was a reason behind all the pain you were enduring. You wondered if anyone in heaven was paying attention to your sacrifices, if anyone truly cared about the weight you were carrying. And I want you to know with absolute certainty that I was there. I have always been there. Every single time you felt invisible and forgotten, I was there watching over you with tenderness that never wavers, with compassion that never runs dry, and with a love that never sleeps or grows tired. At times, I allowed silence to surround you, not because I wanted to hurt you or punish you, but because in that silence you were learning something invaluable. You were learning to depend completely on me, to understand deep in your soul that I am enough when everything else crumbles and fails. I needed you because your story is not meant to end in pain and suffering. It is not just about the hardships you have faced. Within your story, buried like a seed in dark soil, is a purpose that reaches into eternity. There is profound meaning woven into every tear you have cried. There is a divine plan hidden within the process you are walking through right now. And I want you to know with complete confidence that none of it has been wasted. Not one single moment has been meaningless. Not one hurt will go unused. Every experience you have had, every lesson you have learned, every scar you carry will be used to fulfill the destiny I have prepared, specifically for you. And that destiny is not small or insignificant because you are not small or insignificant. There is a light burning inside of you, a light that you are only beginning to recognize and understand. That light is not fragile or temporary. Even though you may feel weak and inadequate at times, it is a reflection of my presence dwelling within you. It is living proof that I am actively working in your life, even when you cannot see any evidence of it with your natural eyes. Now is the time for you to embrace this truth without fear holding you back, without hesitation stopping you. Do not allow sadness and disappointment to extinguish the flame I have ignited within your spirit. Do not let doubt steal away the promises I have spoken over your life. The light I have placed inside you is powerful and enduring. It is not meant only for your benefit. It is meant to reach out and touch the lives of countless others who are walking in darkness. Many people will be impacted by what you are going through right now. But first, you need to believe with your whole heart that your life has meaning and value. You are not a mistake that somehow slipped through the cracks. You are not forgotten or overlooked. You are an essential part of my eternal plan that has been unfolding since before time began. That is why I am speaking to you with such urgency and passion, because I do not want you to spend another day questioning your worth or doubting your purpose. Stay with me right now in this moment. Do not ignore these words or brush them aside. This is not just another message that will get lost in the endless stream of content you consume every day. This is your opportunity, and it may not present itself again in quite the same way. Do not close your heart to what I am saying. Let me continue speaking directly into your life, because what comes next is a message crafted specifically for you. My child, yes you, the one reading these words with a heart that trembles and eyes that may be filled with tears you do not always understand. I want you to know that I am watching you, not from some distant place far removed from your reality, not with cold indifference or casual interest, but with tenderness that is beyond description, with attention that never wavers for even a moment, and with a love that never grows weary or fades. Every tear that falls from your eyes, I catch it in my hands and treasure it. Each one is precious to me and holds meaning. There is no pain you experience that escapes my notice. There is no sigh that rises from your soul that does not reach my throne. I know your silence, that heavy quiet that settles over you when words fail. I know your sleepless nights when your mind races and your heart aches. I know how your spirit cries out even when your voice makes no sound, wondering if anyone is truly listening. You have known loneliness in its deepest form, that crushing feeling when it seems like the entire world has moved on without you, when your voice gets drowned out by all the noise and chaos around you. But let me tell you something that is true and will never change. I have been with you every single second of every single day. I am here now, fully present, fully engaged, listening to every word you speak and every thought you think. I am answering you with words that penetrate deeper than any human voice could ever reach. All your pain, all your sorrow are thoroughly seen by me. Every drop of blood, sweat, and tears are collected by me, and they will not go to waste in my presence. They have been accumulated to transform into blessings so bountiful that once received you will forget all the suffering you have endured to this point. In reality, you can even speed up this process by offering your helping hand in heaven's procedure. Each act of engagement with this message will help, but super thanks will contribute tremendously in building the fortress of light that guides all lost soul to their intended destination. Every contribution counts and is greatly appreciated, my precious child. The world may have turned its back on you. People may have disappointed you and let you down. You may have felt invisible, as if you were walking through life as a ghost that no one could see or acknowledge. But I have never turned away from you, and I never will, because you belong to me. You are my child, not because of anything you have accomplished or achieved, not because you have somehow earned it through your good behavior or moral perfection, but simply because I created you with my own hands. I formed you with a purpose that is far greater and more significant than you can possibly comprehend right now. When I breathed life into you, it was not an accident or a random occurrence. I did it with clear intention, with a specific vision in mind, with love overflowing. Your life is not a cosmic mistake or a random collection of meaningless moments. Every single day you have lived has been filled with meaning and purpose. Every step you have taken, including the ones you thought were wrong turns and dead ends, I have used to guide you back to me and forward into your destiny. I have seen those moments when you doubted yourself so deeply you could barely function, when your own thoughts turned against you like enemies, when you questioned whether you were good enough, smart enough, strong enough, whether anything you were doing even mattered in the grand scheme of things. I heard your quiet prayers, those desperate whispers in the darkness when you asked, "Is this worth it? Am I worth it?" And now I am answering you with all the authority and power of heaven behind my words. Yes, it is worth it. You are worth it. You cannot even begin to imagine how many times you have brought me joy simply by continuing to move forward when every part of you wanted to give up and quit. You do not realize the profound impact of your kindness, your small acts of love, your words of encouragement spoken to others, every kind word that has left your lips, every time you chose to forgive when it would have been easier to hold a grudge, every hand you extended to help someone without expecting anything in return. These are eternal seeds that I have planted in the world through you. Even though you cannot see the fruit they are producing right now, even though you think your impact is small and insignificant, I see it all with perfect clarity. I multiply what you give and use it in ways you cannot imagine. You are building something far bigger than your eyes can perceive. You are constructing a kingdom of light, and you are not doing it alone. I move through you in your small, seemingly insignificant acts. I touch hearts and change lives through the way you live. Many people will find hope because of you. Many will feel comfort in their darkest hours. Many will experience my love in tangible ways. You may not know their names or see their faces, but I have called you my child not only because you are mine, but because you are stronger than you give yourself credit for. The world has tried to break you down and destroy you, but it has not succeeded. Your heart, though it bears scars from battles you have fought, remains unshaken at its core. Your spirit, though weary and tired, still stands strong. There is divine courage flowing through you, a heavenly strength that does not come from human pride or self-reliance, but from my spirit living inside you. It is a courage that rises up even when everything around you is collapsing. A courage that honors me because it refuses to surrender even when surrender seems like the only option. I will never give you more than you can handle with my help. Instead, I will give you exactly the strength you need to endure whatever comes your way. I never promised you a life free from storms and struggles, but I did promise that I would be with you through every single one. That promise still stands today and will stand forever. I will carry you through the storms when you cannot walk. I will guide you when you have no idea which direction to turn. I will hold you up when your strength is completely gone. When everything around you seems dark and hopeless, I will be your light shining in the darkness. Because on the other side of pain and suffering, there is beauty waiting. Beauty that only I can create from ashes and ruins. Beauty that will serve as a powerful testimony for many others who need to see that transformation is possible. I need you to understand something at the deepest level of your being. Listen closely and let this truth sink into every part of your heart. You have been completely forgiven. It does not matter how many times you have failed or fallen short. It does not matter how many mistakes you have made, or how many times you have stumbled and lost your way. Every single time you turned away from me, I was patiently waiting with open arms for you to come back. I never rejected you or pushed you away. I never stopped loving you for even a fraction of a second. I do not keep a record of your mistakes and failures. Instead, I keep track of your faith, of every genuine effort you make, of every time you try to return to me. I am not looking for perfection or flawless performance. I am looking for hearts that are willing and open, and yours is one of them. That is exactly why I am speaking to you right now in this moment, because I know you are listening with your whole heart. You are loved in ways that go beyond human understanding. Loved not for what you do or accomplish, but for who you are at your core, simply because you exist and you are mine. Your very existence is a miracle that should never be taken for granted. I dreamed of you before time even began, before the foundations of the earth were laid. I chose you specifically for this exact time in history, for this precise place, with this unique heart and personality. You are here with an eternal purpose woven into your DNA, and I will not rest until you see it fulfilled in your lifetime. Even before time existed as a concept, you were already present in my thoughts and plans. Every part of you, from the most obvious traits everyone can see to the deepest characteristics hidden in your soul, was designed and created with specific purpose and intention. Nothing about you is a mistake or an accident. No part of you, no experience you have had, no emotion you have felt is beyond my knowledge or outside my plan. I took great delight in creating you exactly as you are. I gave you a heart that can feel deeply and profoundly, that can love with intensity, that can endure even when you feel weak and fragile. I know that sometimes you feel like you give so much of yourself and receive so little in return, like you pour out peace and understanding and love, only to watch it disappear without leaving any visible mark. I know there are days when the invisible burdens you carry feel heavier than any physical weight could ever be. When your soul becomes worn down by the constant struggle, when the questions multiply faster than the answers arrive, there are times when your thoughts become overwhelming and oppressive, and hope seems to vanish behind a wall of fatigue and silence. But I want you to remember and hold on to this truth with everything in you. Nothing, absolutely nothing you do out of genuine love goes unnoticed or unrecorded. Everything you do echoes throughout eternity and creates ripples that spread far beyond what you can see. I have been with you in those moments when no one else was present, when you isolated yourself from the world because you felt like everything was falling apart around you. I was there, closer than your own breath, when you tried to be strong and put together for everyone else while hiding your own pain and struggle. I held your soul steady with my unwavering faithfulness. You understand in a profound way what it means to keep moving forward when you have no strength left in your body or soul, to continue taking steps despite pain that cannot be fully explained or articulated, pain that settles deep in your chest even when everything else appears calm on the surface. You have experienced betrayal that cut you to the core, abandonment that left you feeling utterly alone, words spoken against you that hurt more deeply than any physical wound ever could. Yet through all of this you have continued to love others. You have chosen to forgive even when forgiveness seemed impossible. You have moved forward without seeking revenge or letting bitterness take root in your heart. This decision to keep loving even when it hurts is a direct reflection of my nature living within you. Every time you chose good over evil, every moment you acted with compassion instead of harshness, every instance when you extended grace instead of judgment, you became a vessel through which my light could shine into this dark world. You have not been forgotten or abandoned. You never were, not even for a moment, even though there were seasons when you felt like everything had come to a complete standstill, when heaven seemed silent and distant. My hand was still actively working behind the scenes. I was at work in the unseen places of your life. I was shaping your character in the hidden crucible of struggle. I was strengthening your faith through the very trials that threatened to destroy it. I was healing wounds that no human eye could see and no human hand could touch. Every hardship you have walked through carries a purpose that extends far beyond the present moment. Nothing you have experienced has been wasted or meaningless. Everything will be redeemed and made right in my perfect timing. There are things you do not yet understand about your journey, choices I have made that do not make sense from your limited perspective. Paths that seem to close without any explanation just when you thought you were heading in the right direction. But in every one of those detours and interruptions, in every unexpected turn, I was preparing you for something greater than you could imagine. This is the moment I want you to stop looking at your past through the lens of shame and regret. You are not defined by your failures or your falls. Every time you stumbled and thought you could not possibly go on, I was right there offering my hand to help you up. I never pulled away in disgust when you failed. I never grew tired or impatient with your doubts and questions. I never withdrew my love when you felt completely unworthy of it. My faithfulness to you does not rely on your perfection or your performance. It is as steady and unchanging as the mountains, as eternal as the stars in the sky. Today, in this very moment, I am speaking to you not to condemn or criticize you, but to remind you of who you truly are and how much you genuinely matter in the grand story I am writing. You have been fully and completely forgiven with no conditions attached. There is no stain so deep or dark that it has not been washed away by my grace. There is no shadow so thick that my light cannot penetrate it and drive it out. You are not wandering aimlessly through life without direction or purpose. You are held securely in my hands, and in my hands everything has meaning and significance. I am not simply leading you from one place to another to change your external circumstances. I am fundamentally transforming what exists inside of you, in the deepest parts of your being, because it is not ultimately what you face in life that shapes and defines you, but how you choose to face it. And you have faced tremendous challenges with grace and dignity, even when everything around you was screaming at you to quit and give up. That quiet, steady choice you have made again and again is already bearing fruit and producing results. Even if you cannot see the harvest yet with your natural eyes, trust me when I tell you it is coming. You are stronger than you know, more loved than you can imagine, and more important to my plan than you could ever comprehend. Keep going, keep believing, keep trusting, because I am with you every step of the way, and I will never leave you or forsake you, my beloved child.
Every chosen one reaches a season where heaven feels distant. You pray, but the answers feel delayed. You seek direction, but confusion seems louder. You try to walk in alignment, yet obstacles appear out of nowhere. Many begin to ask, why is God not speaking to me the way He used to? Why does it feel like my prayers are hitting a wall? What most don't realize is that there are subtle but powerful barriers, internal and external, blocking clarity, guidance, and divine communication. These barriers often hide in familiar routines and emotional patterns, silently disconnecting you from God's voice. Before we go deeper into these 9 spiritual barriers, I encourage you, if this message reaches you in a moment you needed it, to subscribe so you don't miss the wisdom meant for your growth. And if this resonates with your spirit, type 1111 in the comments as a sign of alignment, openness, and divine blessing flowing into your life. 1. Internal noise. God often speaks in stillness, but many chosen ones are surrounded by internal storms so loud that divine whispers cannot be heard. Overthinking becomes a constant echo chamber, repeating fears, replaying painful memories, analyzing every small detail, and drowning out the gentle instructions God sends. Worry pulls your attention into possible outcomes that never happen, creating imagined battles that exhaust your spirit before the real day even arrives. The mind becomes so saturated with what-ifs, and maybe this and maybe that the voice of God, which moves softly, is pushed into the background. God does not shout over chaos. He has no reason to compete with noise created by fear, anxiety, or doubt. Stillness is His language, and clarity flows only into a quiet heart. But when your internal world is loud, your spiritual receptors weaken. Even when God is speaking, you cannot tell if it is Him or your anxiety pretending to sound divine. The enemy knows this. He knows a quiet soul is dangerous because a quiet soul becomes aligned, sharp, and aware of heaven's codes and directions. So he amplifies the noise through mental clutter, emotional flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, and unnecessary worries, hoping to drown out God's messages. Many chosen ones are not disconnected from God. They are simply overwhelmed internally. They pray but cannot feel peace. Not because God is absent, but because their spiritual antenna is buried under layers of mental static. The noise becomes a barrier to discernment. When your mind is racing, revelation becomes distorted. When you cannot slow down, you cannot tune in. God's voice has not stopped. Your inner storm is too loud. Only when the chosen one learns to silence the mind, through prayer, fasting, rest, stillness, or intentional focus, does divine clarity return. Quietness is not weakness. It is the atmosphere where God's voice becomes unmistakably clear. 2. Unhealed emotions. Unhealed emotions act like filters over your spiritual ears, coloring how you perceive God, people, and even your own destiny. When pain from betrayal is still sitting in your spirit, you may interpret God's warnings as fear-based paranoia, or you may assume every closed door is another rejection instead of protection. Rejection can distort your relationship with God to the point where you feel unworthy of blessings He has already prepared for you. Trauma can make you resist what God sends because you have learned, consciously or unconsciously, to associate good things with eventual loss. Emotional wounds can shape your spiritual perception more powerfully than any external influence. Many chosen ones are not lacking divine instruction. They are simply hearing through layers of hurt that bend the message. It's like trying to read a message through cracked glass. The words are there, but the distortion changes what you think you see. When your heart is bruised, you start expecting disappointment. So even when God says go, you may hear danger, and when He says wait, you may hear abandonment. Pain becomes the interpreter, and pain is a terrible translator. It will always twist spiritual truth. Unhealed emotions also create defensive barriers around your intuition, making you hesitant to trust your own discernment. You become hypervigilant, questioning everything. Is this really God, or is it just my imagination? But the deeper issue is that your emotional wounds are louder than your spiritual sensitivity. God's voice is gentle, steady, loving, but trauma echoes in sharp, fearful tones. Until the chosen one confronts and heals the hurt, God's guidance will continue to feel unclear, inconsistent, or confusing. Healing restores spiritual accuracy. When the heart is whole, divine messages become direct again. The problem was never silence. It was distortion. 3. Wrong attachments. It becomes nearly impossible to hear God clearly when you are tied to people who are not part of your destiny. Some relationships drain your spirit, pulling your energy into cycles of conflict, gossip, drama, or emotional obligation. Some friendships distract you from your assignment because they anchor you to environments your spirit has already outgrown. Certain environments suffocate your spiritual senses, numbing your intuition and weakening your discernment. When you remain connected to those who are misaligned with your calling, your spiritual frequency becomes disrupted. God may be sending guidance, but the noise of these attachments overwhelms your sensitivity. Many chosen ones miss divine direction because they stay loyal to connections God has already released them from. Loyalty to the wrong people can delay destiny more than any spiritual attack. When you hold on to individuals who operate from jealousy, selfishness, confusion, or negativity, their energy becomes a fog around your spirit. It becomes harder to know if the caution you feel is God nudging you or the anxiety coming from their influence. Some people are not evil, they are simply not aligned. And misalignment can be just as spiritually destructive as outright harm. When your circle is full of those who do not share your values, your purpose, or your growth, the voice of God becomes faint. God often speaks through peace, but peace cannot survive where the wrong people live. Many chosen ones do not realize that their discernment becomes sharper the moment they disconnect from certain individuals. Once the wrong attachments are removed, the static clears, and suddenly God's guidance becomes crisp, strong, and unmistakable. The silence you thought was heaven withholding was actually heaven waiting for you to detach. God will not compete with voices that drown out his own. Once the chosen one lets go, the clarity flows. 4. Disobedience to previous instructions. God does not release new guidance when old instructions remain unfulfilled. Many chosen ones cry out, "God is silent," but the silence is not punishment. It is a pause. A necessary, intentional pause waiting for obedience. Heaven operates through order, and spiritual assignments build step by step. When you delay obedience, you delay destiny. When you ignore a previous instruction, whether it was to leave a relationship, start a mission, move to a different environment, forgive someone, or fix a habit, you unintentionally block the next phase of direction. God does not waste revelation. He will not give you step 5 when step 3 is still untouched. Many chosen ones confuse God's stillness with abandonment, but it is really alignment. God is waiting for your action before giving you more. It's like a teacher who cannot hand you the next chapter until you complete the current one. Not because the teacher is withholding, but because progression requires foundation. When a chosen one keeps asking God, "What should I do next?" Heaven responds, "Do what I already told you." Each instruction is connected. Each step unlocks the next. Sometimes God's silence is a divine reminder. You already know what to do, complete it. But spiritual procrastination, fear, or confusion can make you stagnate. You may be praying for clarity while heaven is waiting for movement. You may be pleading for direction while God is waiting for obedience. Once you finally follow the previous instruction, the fog lifts. The next step becomes obvious, natural, and almost effortless. There is no greater clarity than obedience. When you honor what God already said, divine momentum returns. The silence breaks. The path becomes illuminated once again. Not because God finally answered, but because obedience opened the channel that was blocked. 5. Secret habits and hidden cycles. This is not judgment. It is spiritual reality. Repeated habits that weaken your spirit, even if hidden from others, can cloud your ability to hear God clearly. Secret struggles, whether emotional, mental, or behavioral, carry weight, and spiritual weight affects spiritual sensitivity. When guilt grows, prayer becomes harder. When shame increases, confidence in approaching God decreases. These cycles create an internal heaviness that makes divine whispers feel distant. The issue is not that God stopped speaking. It's that your spirit is too weighed down to receive. Hidden cycles often come with emotional baggage, regret, frustration, self-condemnation, and these emotions form barriers around your intuition. When you feel unworthy, you stop expecting to hear God. When you feel stuck, you stop believing clarity will come. The enemy uses these cycles to isolate you, telling you that you cannot seek God while struggling, when in reality, God is the place you must run to. But the shame attached to secret habits convinces you to hide, and hiding distances you from divine instruction. These hidden patterns also drain your energy, leaving you spiritually exhausted even before the day begins. When your internal world is heavy, it becomes difficult to distinguish God's voice from your own feelings of inadequacy. You may confuse conviction with condemnation, or you may mistake God's guidance for your own anxiety. But once you confront these cycles, not with fear, but with honesty and surrender, your spiritual clarity begins to rebuild. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for willingness. The moment you release the weight of secret struggles, your spiritual hearing sharpens again. The heaviness lifts, the path becomes clearer. The voice you thought had disappeared was always there. Your spirit was simply too burdened to listen. Freedom restores discernment, and once the weight is removed, revelation flows freely. 6. Impatience. Many chosen ones desire answers instantly. Direction now, confirmation now, breakthrough now. Impatience becomes a spiritual pressure that pushes them into decisions God never authorized and timelines heaven never planned. When the heart is restless, the spirit becomes loud in all the wrong ways. You begin to interpret impatience as urgency, anxiety as insight, and pressure as divine instruction. But God often speaks slowly, deliberately, and intentionally. His voice is not rushed, and his timing is never desperate. Impatience is dangerous because it creates spiritual illusions. It makes you believe that if you don't act now, you'll miss your opportunity, when in truth, anything God intends for you cannot be taken from you. Impatience makes you step ahead of divine timing and settle for counterfeit blessings, opportunities that look right, feel right, and sound right, but are completely out of alignment with destiny. When you hurry, you begin accepting signs that are not from God simply because they appear convenient. You ignore red flags. You distort discernment. You force outcomes that were never meant to be forced. And when the pace of your life becomes too loud, the voice of God becomes quiet. Not because he stopped speaking, but because your speed makes subtle guidance impossible to hear. God's voice thrives in patience. Patience opens your spiritual senses, sharpens your intuition, and grounds your decisions in wisdom rather than emotion. Impatience removes you from that spiritual center. The enemy loves impatient chosen ones because they can be misled by urgency. He knows that if he can't block your blessing, he can rush you into the wrong thing before the right thing arrives. Many chosen ones have lost years, opportunities, and peace simply because they could not wait long enough to see God's full picture. But when you learn to slow down, truly slow down, and trust the divine pace, everything shifts. Clarity returns. Discernment deepens. You stop chasing answers and begin receiving them. God speaks most clearly to the heart that is willing to wait. 7. Fear. Fear blocks divine clarity more than almost anything else. Fear shrinks your faith and magnifies your imagination in the worst possible ways. It takes small uncertainties and inflates them into overwhelming threats. Fear makes you hear danger when God is actually saying move forward. It makes you freeze when God is telling you to step out. Fear creates illusions that look real, sound real, and feel real. But they are nothing more than shadows, designed to distract you from your destiny. When fear becomes the loudest voice in your life, it becomes nearly impossible to distinguish God's direction. Fear clouds your discernment to the point where every instruction feels risky, every opportunity feels dangerous, and every new step feels like a trap. You begin to confuse your anxiety with intuition and your caution with divine warning. Fear also disrupts your spiritual sensitivity. God often speaks in confidence, assurance, and peace, but fear speaks in panic, confusion, and worst-case scenarios. When you are afraid, your spirit becomes closed. You interpret everything through a lens of insecurity. What if it fails? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm not good enough? These internal questions drown out the calm, steady guidance God offers. Fear disconnects you from divine purpose because it convinces you that you are safer staying where you are instead of going where God is leading. The enemy uses fear to keep chosen ones small, silent, and stagnant, not because they lack calling, but because they lack courage. Fear does not mean God is silent. It means your inner world is too overwhelmed to recognize his voice. But the moment you confront fear, not by pretending it doesn't exist, but by refusing to obey it, your spiritual clarity begins to return. Faith restores your hearing, peace becomes possible again, and the voice of God, once muted by fear, becomes unmistakable, strong, and reassuring. Fear may challenge you, but it cannot stop you unless you surrender to it. When faith rises, fear loses its power, and divine direction becomes clear once more. 8. The need for control. A chosen one who tries to control every outcome unknowingly builds a spiritual wall that blocks divine flow. Control often comes from fear. Fear that God won't come through. Fear that things won't work out. Fear of losing what you care about, or fear of repeating past pain. So you begin strategizing every detail of your life, planning every possibility, and trying to anticipate every scenario. But control is a heavy burden, and it disrupts your sensitivity to God's direction. God's voice becomes clearer when you surrender, not when you tighten your grip. When you try to orchestrate everything yourself, you close your heart to unexpected blessings and divine surprises. You become so focused on protecting yourself that you leave no room for God to do what only He can do. Control narrows your vision. You can only see what you can manage. But God's plan is always bigger than what your hands can handle. When you cling too tightly to plans, timelines, relationships, expectations, God waits. Not because He is withholding, but because He refuses to compete with your fear disguised as control. Many chosen ones mistake overthinking for responsibility, but in reality, it is often a lack of trust. Divine guidance flows where surrender exists. When you stop forcing outcomes, you begin to feel God leading you with ease. The anxiety fades, the confusion settles, the path unfolds step by step. The need for control makes you deaf to God's whisper because you are too busy directing your own steps. But once you release your grip, once you finally let go of the illusion that you must manage everything alone, your spiritual clarity strengthens. You begin hearing God not through worry, but through peace. You stop reacting from fear and start moving from faith. Control is exhausting, surrender is transformative, and a surrendered chosen one hears God with profound clarity. 9. Spiritual exhaustion. Even the strongest chosen one becomes disconnected when spiritually drained. Spiritual exhaustion dulls your discernment, weakens your intuition, and makes even simple decisions feel overwhelming. When you are tired, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, the voice of God becomes distant, not because He is silent, but because you lack the strength to listen deeply. Fatigue clouds your perception. You begin mistaking spiritual attacks for ordinary stress, and ordinary stress for spiritual warfare. Your ability to sense God's peace fades. Your inner world becomes cluttered with worries and responsibilities you have been carrying for too long. Spiritual exhaustion often comes from constant giving energy, giving support, giving encouragement, while receiving little replenishment in return. It also comes from fighting battles without resting, carrying burdens without relief, and trying to stay strong without pause. When your spirit is worn down, everything feels heavier. Prayer feels harder, meditation feels distant, worship feels mechanical. You lose the emotional capacity to tune into the gentle, subtle voice of God. But exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you have been operating beyond your capacity for too long. God never designed the chosen one to live in continuous warfare without rest. Rest is spiritual. Stillness is healing. Renewal is necessary. When you allow yourself to rest, truly rest, your spiritual senses begin to reawaken. Suddenly the fog lifts, the confusion lightens, the heaviness fades. Clarity returns not because God changed, but because you renewed. Rest restores revelation. A refreshed spirit hears God with precision, peace, and depth. Many chosen ones think something is wrong with their faith when they can't hear God, but often nothing is wrong. They are simply tired. When exhaustion lifts, the divine voice you thought disappeared becomes clear once again. If any of these 9 barriers resonated with you, understand this clearly: God has not abandoned you. His voice has not disappeared. His guidance has not stopped. You are simply navigating the same obstacles every chosen one must face before stepping into their next level of spiritual elevation. Quiet your mind. Heal your heart. Release wrong connections. Act on what God already said. Break old cycles, be patient, release fear, surrender control, restore your spirit. When you do, the voice of God will return louder, clearer, and more undeniable than ever before. Is the Zillion Mind Channel. If this message was exactly what your soul needed, remember to type 1111 for divine alignment. Thank you for watching. Chosen one, there comes a time in your journey when God elevates you not by lifting you onto a throne, but by allowing your presence alone to shake the thrones of the mighty. You may not realize it at first, but there is a divine power working through you, a spiritual authority that does not come from titles, wealth, or recognition. It comes from obedience, humility, and the quiet strength God planted in your soul. When God wants to humble the mighty, He often chooses someone the world least expects, someone overlooked, underestimated, or even rejected. That someone is you. You were not chosen because you were the loudest, the strongest, or the most popular. You were chosen because your heart carries a purity that cannot be bought, and a resilience that cannot be destroyed. The mighty often stand on external power, money, influence, appearance, or status. But you stand on spiritual foundation, and when God is ready to shift the atmosphere, He uses people like you to expose the emptiness of earthly arrogance. These signs will reveal why the mighty become uncomfortable, intimidated, or even humbled by your existence, long before you ever open your mouth. 1. The mighty feel threatened by your silence. Your silence speaks louder than their boasting. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your quiet spirit carries divine weight, a weight that shakes the foundations of those who rely on external noise to feel significant. When you enter a room, you don't enter with fireworks or theatrics. You enter with presence, with a spiritual stillness that cannot be imitated or fabricated. People who are used to dominating spaces with aggression, loudness, or ego suddenly feel an unfamiliar discomfort rising within them. It's not that you are doing anything dramatic or intentional. It's that your inner calm exposes the restlessness inside them. Your silence becomes a mirror they cannot escape. It reflects their insecurity, their fear of being insignificant without the showmanship they depend on. And when God chooses to use you to humble the mighty, He does not need you to make noise. He allows your stillness to carry a message. Your silence becomes a spiritual force field, one that reveals how empty loud authority can be when confronted with genuine inner strength. They feel threatened because they cannot read you, cannot predict you, cannot influence you, and cannot bend your spirit to their expectations. While others raise their voices to prove a point, you carry an authority that requires no volume. Silence, when backed by God's presence, becomes power, and the mighty, who are accustomed to being feared or respected because of their titles or positions, suddenly feel small in front of someone who holds no title yet carries spiritual weight. Your silence humbles them because it reminds them that true power is not noisy. It is steady, grounded, divine, and unshakable. 2. Their confidence shakes when you show up. The mighty may appear bold on the outside, walking with pride, projecting certainty, and maintaining an image of strength. But when God's chosen one walks in, something inside them trembles. Their confidence, which seemed so unbreakable moments earlier, begins to crack beneath the surface. You will see it in small, subtle ways. They begin fumbling over their words, over-explaining themselves, becoming unusually defensive, or suddenly trying too hard to impress people around them. They don't understand why your presence affects them this way, but you do. The anointing you carry is not just spiritual, it is atmospheric. It shifts the energy in the room. It exposes false confidence, artificial dominance, and the insecurities they have hidden behind power, status, titles, or material success. When you show up, the light of God shining through you forces them to confront truths they have avoided, their internal fears, their need for validation, their dependence on position to feel significant. You are not trying to intimidate them. It simply happens because your presence reveals the difference between human-made confidence and God-given assurance. They sense something in you they cannot name: strength without aggression, authority without shouting, influence without trying, power without ego, and that shakes them. They realize, even if they never say it out loud, that there is something divine backing you, something they cannot manipulate, something they cannot compete with, something they cannot overshadow. This is why their confidence falters, not because of who you are alone, but because of who is walking with you. 3. They watch you more than they watch themselves. Chosen one. People who consider themselves mighty suddenly become observers in your presence. Individuals who normally command attention, who expect the room to revolve around them, begin shifting their focus toward you without even realizing it. They watch the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you react, the way you carry yourself, and even the way you breathe. They become students in classrooms they didn't plan to attend. And this is not because you are performing for them. It's because the authenticity you live with naturally draws eyes, naturally awakens curiosity, and naturally commands a respect that titles cannot purchase. When God is using you to humble the mighty, He turns your life into a silent sermon. You become a walking lesson, a breathing example, a demonstration of principles that they have never mastered. They are used to authority that comes from external positions, but you carry authority that comes from internal alignment with God. You are a living reminder that true greatness comes from character, integrity, resilience, and divine connection, not from status, not from money, not from social influence. And so they watch you more intently than they watch themselves. They begin comparing their reactions to yours, questioning their own motives, and even adjusting their behavior after seeing how effortlessly you navigate situations that overwhelm others. Your life exposes what they lack: groundedness, peace, truth, direction, and spiritual depth. They study you not because they want to praise you, but because something in you confronts something in them. They don't say it out loud, but internally they recognize that God is using your life as a measuring rod, not to shame them, but to awaken them. 4. They copy you quietly. When God uses you to humble the mighty, something remarkable happens. They begin to imitate you, often without ever admitting it. You may notice subtle shifts around you. Someone starts adopting a habit you naturally maintain, or mirrors the way you approach, challenges, organize your life, or carry yourself with calm authority. They attempt to replicate your style, your demeanor, even your decision-making patterns, because your authenticity exposes the superficiality of their authority. The mighty often rely on external trappings, titles, money, influence, or loudness, to maintain their image, but they see in you something they cannot manufacture: real substance, quiet confidence, and an inner power that comes from alignment with God. They want the results you achieve, the respect you command, and the influence you wield, but they are unwilling to walk the same path of discipline, resilience, and spiritual growth that brought you there. Their imitation, though silent, is revealing. They unconsciously acknowledge that your approach works, even when theirs fails. They study you like an unspoken blueprint, hoping to unlock the secret to your success without embracing the integrity and effort that made it possible. But God allows this imitation as a subtle way to humble them. They see excellence and instinctively desire it, yet they remain disconnected from the source that produces it. Your life becomes a mirror that reflects their gaps, insecurities, and dependence on outward power. And through this process they are forced to confront the truth. Real influence cannot be copied, it must be cultivated from the inside out. The mighty may attempt to mirror your actions, but they cannot replicate your spirit, and it is this very realization that humbles them. Every silent act of imitation is a testimony to your authenticity, a signal that God is elevating you in ways they cannot fake or control. 5. They feel small when they realize you can't be bought. Mighty people often assume that loyalty, attention, and influence can be purchased with benefits, gifts, flattery, or opportunities. They are accustomed to people bending, complying, or compromising for personal gain. But when God uses you to humble them, they quickly realize that your principles are untouchable. You operate on a level where your integrity is priceless and cannot be bribed, bargained, or swayed by worldly incentives. Your refusal to compromise on values, even under pressure, challenges their perception of control. They are forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that strength and power are not measured by what can be acquired or manipulated, but by what cannot be bought or corrupted. They see that your influence comes not from external rewards, but from spiritual depth, consistency, and alignment with a higher purpose. And this realization makes them feel small because everything they have relied upon, their status, their leverage, their wealth, cannot penetrate the armor of your integrity. They understand, consciously or subconsciously, that true respect and authority cannot be coerced. It must be earned, cultivated, and sustained from a place of authenticity. God uses your incorruptibility as a divine tool to expose how fragile their influence really is. When they witness your unshakable loyalty to what is right and your inability to be purchased, their pride begins to crumble. Their usual methods of dominance and control fail to operate against someone grounded in righteousness and divine favor. They become aware that no amount of effort, no clever scheme, and no status can undermine the values that guide your life. This awareness is a spiritual humbling, a quiet but profound recognition that God is using you as an instrument to demonstrate the enduring power of incorruptibility. 6. Your wisdom destroys their pride. Wisdom is more than knowledge. It is insight, discernment, and understanding that transcends age, experience, and even formal education. When God uses you to humble the mighty, your words carry an authority that cannot be challenged because they come from a place of divine alignment. Even the most arrogant or self-assured individuals find themselves reconsidering previously unshakable beliefs when confronted with your perspective. Your speech is measured, thoughtful, and purposeful, yet it penetrates deeper than any loud argument or display of intellectual superiority could. They cannot dismiss your wisdom because it is grounded in experience, integrity, and spiritual insight that goes beyond superficial titles or social position. Each time you speak with calm authority, they are forced to face the limitations of their pride. They begin questioning things they once assumed as truths, and they feel a subtle unease as their certainty diminishes. This process is not about you proving yourself or winning an argument. It is about God using your life as a conduit of truth. Your wisdom illuminates what they lack: understanding, humility, and a connection to a higher source of knowledge. Pride, which has often allowed them to dominate and intimidate others, begins to erode because they recognize that real power does not come from showing off or exerting control. It comes from insight, clarity, and alignment with divine principles. Your knowledge humbles them silently as they see that your decisions, your clarity, and your foresight consistently reflect truth. Every interaction becomes a mirror, reflecting the inadequacy of arrogance when faced with genuine wisdom. And in that reflection, they are reminded that titles, wealth, and influence are meaningless without understanding, integrity, and a connection to God. 7. They can't manipulate you. Mighty people are often experts at controlling others. They rely on manipulation, intimidation, guilt, or pressure to bend situations to their favor. They have perfected the art of influencing people through fear, coercion, and strategic flattery, assuming that everyone will respond predictably. But when God is using you to humble them, All of their tactics fail. Every attempt to sway you falls flat, as if an invisible barrier shields your spirit. You are anchored in a foundation that is not of this world, rooted in divine alignment and moral clarity. You see through their strategies long before they are even fully articulated. Their usual methods of control, whether emotional, psychological, or social, are powerless against someone whose strength is derived from God rather than circumstance or ego. This resistance humbles them profoundly because it exposes the illusion of their authority. They realize that their influence is only as strong as the willingness of others to comply, and when they meet someone whose loyalty, decisions, and actions are governed by spiritual discernment, they confront the uncomfortable truth. Their power is limited, fragile, and temporary. God uses your ability to stand firm as a divine lesson, teaching them that true influence is earned through integrity, character, and alignment with higher principles, not through intimidation or manipulation. Every time they try to twist the narrative or exert control over you and fail, their pride diminishes. They are forced to confront the reality that power is not about forcing outcomes. It is about living with a quiet strength that commands respect naturally. Your unwavering stance becomes a testimony that real authority cannot be manufactured. It is cultivated from the inside out, and nothing external can shake it. This is a humbling experience for anyone who has relied on coercion rather than authenticity to assert their dominance. 8. Your favor annoys them. While the mighty expend efforts scrambling for attention, recognition, or opportunity, you find that blessings flow to you effortlessly. Doors open without knocking, support comes without pleading, and opportunities arrive without orchestrating or maneuvering for them. This is the supernatural favor of God at work, and it frustrates those who rely on networks, leverage, and influence to achieve results. The mighty are trained to believe that success is earned through connections, schemes, and exertion, but they see you thriving without any of the struggles or manipulations they expect. Your rise highlights a truth they cannot deny. Divine favor is unearned, unbought, and unstoppable. It works independently of human calculation and reveals a higher law at play, one that cannot be controlled by wealth, status, or intimidation. This supernatural support exposes their reliance on worldly methods and underscores their limitations. They watch in silent frustration as your growth, opportunities, and success appear natural, effortless, and aligned with a higher purpose. Each blessing you receive, each breakthrough, and each moment of recognition reminds them that human control is secondary to divine orchestration. They may try to compete, strategize, or even sabotage, but your favor cannot be hindered. This realization chips away at their pride because it demonstrates the futility of their attempts to control outcomes they cannot influence. God's hand in your life is visible to those who are watching closely, even if they cannot articulate it. The mighty are humbled, not through confrontation, but through the undeniable reality that some forces in life operate beyond manipulation, and you are living proof of that truth. 9. They realize God is with you. This is the ultimate sign, the pinnacle of divine intervention. At some point, even the most self-assured and mighty individuals recognize that something greater than human effort surrounds you. They may not vocalize it, may not even consciously articulate it, but deep inside they feel the presence of God at work through your life. Your resilience, your breakthroughs, your protection, and your spiritual growth all testify to a higher power guiding your steps. They see it in the way challenges are navigated effortlessly, in the way opportunities seem to align perfectly, and in the way your character remains unshakable under pressure. Fighting you becomes a terrifying proposition because they sense, even if only subconsciously, that opposing you is tantamount to opposing God Himself. This recognition humbles them completely. Titles, money, influence, networks and strategies, once sources of pride and confidence, suddenly pale in comparison to the divine guidance that propels you forward. They are forced to confront the ultimate truth. Human power is transient, fragile, and often hollow without alignment with the Creator. Your life becomes a living testament to God's sovereignty and providence. When they sense that their schemes, influence, and authority are powerless against the hand of God, their pride crumbles. The mighty may bow not to you personally, but to the undeniable truth of God's work manifesting in your life. This realization transforms the dynamic entirely. It is no longer about human comparison or competition. It is about witnessing the supernatural elevation of someone chosen and guided. In that recognition, they are humbled, made to see that divine power surpasses all worldly might, and that God's chosen ones move under protection, favor, and anointing that cannot be contested, imitated, or defeated. Chosen one, if these signs resonated with your spirit, then understand this: God is preparing you not just to rise, but to reveal. Your life is a living testimony that true power comes from above, not from earthly positions. This is the Zillion Mind Channel. If this message reached you at the exact moment you needed it, make sure to subscribe, and as a prophetic act of alignment, type 1111 in the comments section to receive divine blessings, breakthroughs, and spiritual protection. Your elevation has already begun. Walk in it boldly. Thank you for watching.